Hi friends, Assalamu alaikum. This is our fourth lesson about Python 3. In this lesson, we are going to learn about iteration, iterable, iterator, and a command called iter. So let's start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The first topic is iteration. So what is an iteration? Iteration means repetition of an action on something. In iteration, you take each element of a sequence one by one and do some action on each of those elements separately. For example, you have a sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you take one element from it and do some action on that. For example, you want to find out the square root of each of these elements. Then what you do in iteration or in repetition? In iteration, you take 1 first and then find the square root of that 1. And then take 2 and find the square root of that element. And then 3 and 4 and then 5 and so on. So what functions are used for iterating or for iteration in computer languages, for example in Python or in R language or other languages such as JavaScript, Java, C++, etc.? Those functions are called loops. For example, the most common loops are for loop and while loop. These two loops exist almost in every computer language, but there are other loops available as well. For example, do while loop, repeat loop in R, etc. The next thing is iterator. So iterator is an object. In object-oriented languages, almost everything is considered as an object. And here iterator is also an object. So what kind of object an iterator is? An iterator is an object from which you can extract only and only one element at a time. An object which you can print as a whole with one print command is not an iterator, because you cannot print the whole sequence of elements on the screen at once in an iterator. So whenever you apply a function on iterator that extracts each element one by one from that iterator, whenever it extracts the last element from that iterator, and then if you apply the same function again to extract the next element, it will give you an error because there will be no element after the last element. So there are methods that can produce iterators. One of the methods that produce iterator is called an iter command or an iter function, iter. Just use iter command on list, dictionary, on sets, tuples in Python language. Those objects, that is list, etc., will be converted into iterators. And then you can extract one element at a time from those new objects. List, set, tuple, or dictionary. These are the objects that you can convert into an iterator object. However, list, set, tuple, dictionary, etc., they are not iterators themselves. They are iterables. There are two methods that can be used to extract elements one by one from an iterator. One of the methods is called the next command, and other methods include loops. For example, for loop, while loop, etc. Now let's compare iterable with iterator and see the similarities and differences between these two object types, iterables and iterators. List, tuple, set, and dictionaries. All of them in Python are called iterables. Why are these objects called iterables? Because you can convert them into iterators. That's why list, tuple, set, and dictionary are called iterables. In a computer language, every object that can be converted into an iterator is called an iterable. On the other hand, iterator can be produced using iter command. For example, here you can see that I have applied an iter command on a list, and that when you save in a variable, anything like A, B, etc., that variable is then called as iterator. So this is an iterable. That is this list. This is an iterable, and when you apply iter command and save it into another variable, then this variable or this new object produced, that one is called as iterator. For example, here my iterator is an iterator. all the elements of an iterable can be printed with one print command. You just apply print command on list, tuple, set or dictionary. All the elements that are present inside list or tuple etc. they will be printed on the screen. However, on the other side, only and only one element can be extracted at a time with next command, not with print, because you cannot use print command on iterators. If you use print command on an iterator, for example this variable or this thing, this will not give you the result. Here next is the command and this is the name of the iterator, that is this name, the variable or this name. So whenever you apply next command on this variable, it will print one element at one time. Iterable has iter method. That is, you can apply this iter command on each of these objects. Iter command. This iterator has the similarity in this case with iterable, because you can convert an iterator into another iterator with iter command. So this iter here converts the iterable into an iterator. However, here iter command will reconvert iterator into another iterator. So these iter commands can be applied on both iterable as well as on iterator. However, next command can only be applied on iterator but not on iterable. If you apply next command on any list, on any tuple, it will not work. However, here, as you saw here, that whenever you applied next command on iterator, it will print one element at a time. So here next command or the next method cannot extract an element. On the other side, the next command can extract one element at a time. Next element cannot be applied on this iterable because it cannot extract element at a time. Here on iterator, you can use that next method, and whenever you apply next method, it will extract one element at a time. For loop, however, can be used on both of them to extract one element at a time. If you apply for loop on an iterable, you can print one element at a time from these lists with for loop. Similar is the case with iterator. You can use for loops on iterators, and that for loop will extract single element at a time from those iterators. Why for loops can extract each element at a time from an iterable? Because for loop will first convert this iterable into an iterator, and then it will extract each element at a time from that iterable. Now let's see how you convert a list, a tuple or set into an iterator, and then how will you extract values from that iterator. For example, you have a list that contains A, B, and C, that is 3 elements. You have already learned in Python 3 previous lessons that any sequence of elements enclosed in square brackets is called a list. So this A is a variable in which we have saved this list. Now this A is called a list, and this A is an iterable, not an iterator. How will you convert this A into an iterator? Just apply the iter command. This A will be converted into an iterator, and then save it into a variable called B. This B is now an iterator. So this A is an iterable and this B is an iterator. When you apply next command on this iterator B, it will first print A, that is the first element of that iterator. And then you will have to apply again that next command to extract the second element, that is B. And when you apply the third time the next command on B, it will extract the last element of this iterator. And when you try to apply next command after the last element extraction, it will give you an error. You can also use loops for element extraction from an iterator. For example, here we have a list called A. And when you convert this A into an iterator and save it into a container B, that B is then called as iterator. And now apply a for loop on this iterator. You will see that it will print each element of that iterator. We will discuss about for loop and other loops in Python in our next lessons. So keep watching my videos and wait for next lessons. You will inshallah learn much more about Python in a very easy way. So thank you for watching, but don't forget to subscribe my channel. Just click on the red subscribe button below the video. I will be very thankful to you and I will subscribe back as well. So bye.